Alright everyone, some people are always like, Sticks, but how do you know that the legacy media is dying? Well, it's because they're TV based, and link in the description, TV itself is dying. It's beyond just corporate media. Yeah, they're untrustworthy. Increasingly, especially younger people are cutting the cable anyway. Partially because of that, they're like, well, why would I want to get my news from cable TV? I can go to YouTube, I can go to any of a million other sites. I can just follow Twitter all day and I can find out what's happening in the world to a better degree, and it'll be more compact. So 140 characters or less. Go to YouTube, get videos, go to Facebook, see posts there. Why do I need cable media? Yeah, that's definitely true, but it goes beyond that. It's entertainment too. Right now, TV is dying. Again, link in the description. And you'll see for the younger demographic, TV is vastly unpopular. YouTube is king, actually. Yeah, we're on the site that is king for younger viewership. Why? The content is independent. You don't have to just passively absorb it. You can actually create your own if you have a moderately good setup to do so. It doesn't require like, oh, I need the best camera equipment and a $10,000 studio setup, and I need the really great microphone and a really super fast PC or something. No, you don't need that. You just need a smartphone. You know, most people have them anyway. I'm accepted from that. I don't have a smartphone because I don't want one. I might have no choice but to get one, unfortunately, at some point. It's going to be murder. It's going to be butchery. It's going to be terrible for my mentality having to carry one of those things around when I'm outside. Definitely going to put it on silent or something like that. Yeah, TV is in third place, actually, with the youngest demographic. It's not second place like it was maybe a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, this was said, oh yeah, but these online sources, they're, compiled together are larger than TV now. Now it's YouTube alone is bigger than all of cable TV. Netflix alone is bigger than all of cable TV. Some of these other firms, you've got Amazon, Twitch and stuff competing now, they're beginning to grow as well. And they're primarily taking away the audience of TV. It's news. You watch cable TV, get fake news. You go online, you can pick and choose your sources. You've got literally hundreds of thousands of decent independent commentators and analysts. So if you want bias, there's plenty of bias online. It's going to be less censored at the very least, and it's more independent. So if you want your fear-mongering and your bias or your war-hawking or whatever, get it online. If that's truly what you want, you can get it online. You can get it better on radio. You can listen to Sirius or something. You can get it better than cable TV too. So there's that. It's like mainstream radio really is dying too. There's so many online radio sources like Pandora or iHeartRadio, that sort of stuff. Then there's Sirius and radio's dying. Now TV is finally fallen off of its pedestal. It's no longer number one. For a long time, TV was number one. From the time it was incepted, especially the color TV era, for 3 decades it was dominant. There was no challenger to TV. And so all these firms that made TV shows and made for TV movies and cable news, they got complacent. They said, well, we can suck the corporate cock all we want. We don't really have any competitors. There are 5 or 6 companies controlling the vast majority of news media. There are half a dozen companies that control the vast majority of all the TV shows and movies that come out. Where's the actual competition? It's not a free market. The internet, though, is. That's why it's more innovative. That's why it's more independent. It's much better in every possible way. And the average person, unless they're taking to their very local public TV show, they're like the call-in style public access stuff, and unless they have the equipment to do that, and at least some marginally good idea, they can't really access TV. And as far as radio goes, yeah, okay, you can sign up and get a license with the FCC and set up a ham radio to talk to some truckers. Well, that's all very interesting, and it can be very good in a, disaster situations. Yeah, ham radio is really good. But it's harder. The investment is higher, certainly, number one. It's more censored, number two, highly regulated because the FCC is more directly involved. And number three, the amount of content there and the independence of that content is sidelined. Online, it's totally inverted. There are a few websites that control a disproportionately massive amount of the internet. YouTube is one of them, certainly through Google, which is even larger, Facebook, Twitter, and so forth. Some of these larger sites, Instagram, Snapchat, and so forth. However, all of those massive sites are completely decentralized internally. YouTube is just an amalgamation of independent individuals making independent content. Most of the viewership on YouTube is driven to independent creators. It's not being driven to some corporation that decided to set up a YouTube channel and make documentaries or something. It's not being driven to some, some Hollywood channel or some mainstream like celeb or something like that. They have popularity too, but then you have literally tens of thousands of people who have attained various levels of popularity who have no connection to Hollywood. They don't take a cent of corporate money in any way, shape, or form. They're not associated with the corporate media. And that's where you're getting most of your interest. Like, if you're watching my channel, you're not watching Hollywood swill. You're not watching something that's been co-opted by some lobby or some government entity, or certainly by the corporate media that I'm going to keep reaming day in and day out. It just doesn't happen. There are thousands of other people who do exactly the same thing, to varying degrees of success. This is the juggernaut of all modern media. The internet has now displaced TV completely. When TV, in total, with the youngest demographic, is pulling in fewer viewers than Netflix alone, and is steadily free-falling, well past some of these other groups, like, on-demand services, and other sites that sort of have a YouTube-ish or style setup. When you have a site like VidMe that's probably, even though it's relatively, compared to YouTube, it's tiny, relatively small site, and yet probably still driving at least the same amount of people to it as some of the individual larger networks that are on cable TV, maybe a Fox or a CNN or something. When that can possibly happen, TV's dead. And thank goodness, good riddance. TV should stop existing as a medium altogether. So, by the way, should standard radio. Whenever possible, all of that stuff should be completely exempted from government oversight to the greatest possible degree, because we see, when we look at the internet as compared to these other early on FCC co-opted groups, what happens when the government gets involved with them? They get more centralized, they get less innovative, and they get less interactive. And of course, with radio and TV, there was never a great deal of interaction going on anyway, other than, again, public access or a ham radio or something like that. Maybe a local AM talk radio or something. You set up an antenna in your shed or something. That could happen. Yeah, and that's very, very interesting. Ultimately, you're probably not going to turn a profit. It's probably a money sink. You're not reaching nearly as many people. You can reach more people online far more easily than you could ever reach before with TV or radio anyway. And so TV's dying. Good. The boob tube is dead. You know what most people use their TVs for now? They use it to stream YouTube videos. Or they use it to watch Netflix. They don't use it for cable TV. Very few people that I know actually watch cable TV anymore. It's like the least cool thing you can do. They're saying, oh yeah, all the cool kids have like Netflix and Hulu and all this stuff. Or Amazon, whatever their streaming service is called. Or they watch just like the HBO on-demand stuff. They'll survive. Or they watch YouTube or some other video hosting site. That's what it's all about. Because it's independent. There's stuff there that's actually worth watching. You have to actually innovate on the internet in order to garner an audience. You don't have to do that on TV. Look at the series they make. They run the same plot into the ground over and over. It's the same friggin' thing with different characters and different situations. It's like back in the 90s when they had all these sitcoms. The sitcoms all ripped one another off so transparently that if there had been more interconnected, like social media-driven internet at the time, people would have shut it off back then in the 90s. Even in the 90s, a lot of the TV wasn't good. Yeah, you had some good movies, Jurassic Park or something. Okay, there were some good movies. There was still some innovation going on. Some of the horror movies, some of the indie films and stuff. So that's all well and good. Same thing in the 2000s. Same thing even now. There is still some independent content, but it's a minority. You go online and the majority of these social media sites, no matter how much of a juggernaut they are, it's decentralized content. And if it weren't for that independent content, they wouldn't even exist. They certainly wouldn't have surpassed cable TV. People would still be stuck watching CNN every time there's a war. Now they go on Twitter. Well, what happens? Observe, like the last time there were major hostilities with North Korea. Like the time before that, everyone's glued to CNN. Oh, are the North Koreans going to nuke people? The last time around, though, what were people doing? Oh, we're listening to a shortwave radio station online. You know, the internet can actually rob TV and radio as mediums. TV and radio can't do the reverse. That's another one of their major disadvantages. And they were on like 4chan and YouTube's live streams and stuff like that where people were like sweating bullets. And it was very interesting. And even though it was a little bit of a cock tease and it was kind of clickbaity anyway, it was still way more entertaining because you could interact with the content and you could make the content. That's what it's all about. TV's dying. It's going to die faster. Good. Get rid of you cut the cable. Rob these idiots of their money and they go away and we don't have to deal with their corporate bullshit swill anymore. That's about all. Peace out.